Imagine this. You are the most powerful spiritual leader in Tibet. Millions believe you are the reincarnation of a holy master. An entire nation bows before you. You live inside the greatest palace in the Himalayas. You are expected to spend your life in prayer, silence, and discipline. But instead, you sneak out at night. You wander through the streets of Lhasa disguised as an ordinary man. You write love poems. You fall in love. You drink wine. And eventually, some of the most powerful men in Asia decide you must disappear. Then, one day, you are arrested, taken away under armed guard, marched across the Tibetan plateau, and somewhere along that journey, you vanish. No grave, no body, no final goodbye, just mystery. For more than 300 years, historians have argued over what really happened. Was he murdered? Did he die from illness? Or did the Sixth Dalai Lama escape and spend the rest of his life hidden somewhere beyond the mountains?
Because unlike every Dalai Lama before him, and unlike every Dalai Lama after him, Tsangyang Gyatso left behind a story that feels less like religious history and more like a Hollywood epic. A story of power, love, poetry, political betrayal, and one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in Tibetan history. Tonight, we follow his footsteps and uncover the extraordinary life of the Dalai Lama who refused to become what the world expected. Most people know the Sixth Dalai Lama. Few know the secret that created him. The story actually begins with another man, the great Fifth Dalai Lama, the ruler who unified Tibet, the statesman who transformed Lhasa, the visionary who began building the Potala Palace. When he died in 1682, Tibet faced a dangerous problem. His death could trigger instability. Foreign rivals were watching, enemies were waiting, and the enormous Potala Palace was still unfinished. So the Tibetan regent Tsangyang Gyatso made an astonishing decision. He hid the Dalai Lama's death, not for weeks, not for months, for years. Imagine that. The most important figure in Tibet had died, yet the outside world was told he was still alive. Official visitors continued arriving. Government business continued. The illusion remained intact. Meanwhile, somewhere far from Lhasa, destiny was already moving. In the mountains near Tawang, a child had been born. A child who would one day become Tibet's most controversial Dalai Lama. The boy's name was Tsangyang Gyatso. From an early age, stories spread that he possessed unusual qualities. Eventually, search parties arrived. Tests were conducted, sacred signs were interpreted, and the child was identified as the reincarnation of the Fifth Dalai Lama. For most children, this would be unimaginable. One day you're a village boy, the next you are expected to become the spiritual leader of an entire civilization. But there was a problem. Even as a child, Tsangyang Gyatso seemed different. He learned quickly. He was intelligent, curious, creative. But unlike many future monks, his interests extended beyond religious study. He loved stories, poetry, music, human connection, the natural world. As he matured, people noticed something unusual. He carried the title of Dalai Lama, yet his personality seemed too free to remain confined within monastery walls. And soon, that conflict would become impossible to hide. Every Dalai Lama faces expectations. Tsangyang Gyatso faced impossible expectations. The entire religious system expected him to become a fully ordained monk. It was simply what Dalai Lamas did, but when the moment came, he refused. Imagine the shock. The highest religious figure in Tibet rejecting the path everyone expected him to follow. It wasn't merely unusual,
It was almost unthinkable. Suddenly, whispers spread through Lhasa. Some wondered whether he was worthy. Others admired his honesty, because for perhaps the first time, people saw a Dalai Lama openly struggling between personal truth and institutional duty. And that struggle would soon make him legendary.
This is where the story becomes unforgettable. At night, stories claimed the Dalai Lama left the palace, not as a ruler, not as a monk, but as an ordinary young man. He walked among the people, visited tea houses, spoke with common citizens, listened to songs, observed everyday life, and according to many accounts, he experienced love. Whether every story is true remains debated, but what is beyond debate is his poetry. Centuries later, his poems still survive, not because armies preserved them, not because governments protected them, but because people loved them. His words spoke of longing, of separation, of fleeting moments, of beauty that cannot last. And perhaps that's why Tibet never forgot him. Other rulers left monuments. Tsangyang Gyatso left emotions. Even today, many Tibetans can recite lines associated with him. The poet Dalai Lama had become something unique, a spiritual leader remembered not for power, but for humanity. Yet while ordinary people admired him, dangerous forces were moving in the shadows.
Behind the poetry, a political storm was forming. Tibet stood at the center of competing powers: Mongol leaders, regional factions, foreign interests, imperial ambitions. Everyone wanted influence, everyone wanted control. And eventually, one man emerged as a threat: Lhasa Khan, a powerful Mongol ruler. He challenged Tibet's existing leadership. He opposed the regent, and increasingly, he viewed the Sixth Dalai Lama as a political obstacle. The Dalai Lama's unconventional lifestyle gave his enemies exactly what they needed: a justification, a weapon, a narrative. Soon, accusations filled the air. Political alliances collapsed. Old enemies became new allies. Then came bloodshed. The regent who had protected the Dalai Lama was killed. The balance of power shattered, and Tsangyang Gyatso suddenly found himself standing alone. The poet was now trapped inside a political battlefield. Then came the moment that changed everything. The sixth Dalai Lama was arrested. Soldiers surrounded him. Orders were issued, and he was removed from power. The journey that followed remains one of Tibet's greatest mysteries. He was reportedly being taken toward Beijing, but he never arrived. Somewhere along the route, the official story ends. Reports claim he became ill. Others suggest assassination. Still others insist he escaped. Legends emerged across the Tibetan world. Some claimed he lived in secret. Others believed he continued traveling under another identity. The truth? No one knows. 3 centuries later, historians still debate what happened. The most famous man in Tibet simply disappeared, as if the mountains themselves swallowed him whole. History remembers kings. History remembers conquerors. History remembers empires. But the sixth Dalai Lama is remembered for something different: his humanity. He was imperfect, complicated, misunderstood. He lived between 2 worlds: the world others wanted him to inhabit, and the world he wished to experience for himself. Perhaps that is why his story still feels modern, because beneath the robes, beneath the title, beneath the legends, was a young man trying to discover who he truly was. And in the end, the palace survived, the governments changed, empires rose and fell, but his poems remained, his mystery remained, and somewhere in the imagination of Tibet, the poet Dalai Lama still walks beneath the moonlit streets of old Lhasa, a figure caught forever between history and legend.